Jose Mourinho is the mercenary. He doesn't want your respect. He wants your surrender. He doesn't build for the next decade. He builds for the next 90 minutes. Let's take a look at some expanded evidence and examples. Now let's take a look at the man I call the architect, Pep Guardiola. Guardiola is an overthinker. Look at the 2021 Champions League final. No holding midfielder. He moved the coordinates so much that his own players got lost in the building. Have you ever heard of the Godfather? While Pep uses a compass and a ruler, Carlo Ancelotti uses a cigar and a raised eyebrow. He is the Patriarch. He doesn't believe in cages. He believes in homes. Finally, the disciple, Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta is the sovereign of the new era. He is the bridge. He had some of the brains of Guardiola, but the street fighter heart of a captain. Like Pep, Arteta began with a cultural cleaning. He removed Mesut Ozil, the club's most talented creator at the time, because he didn't track back.
Oliseh, oh, what a goal!
Look at the modern game. We hear talk about luck, form, and the transfer windows. But that is just the surface noise. If you want 100% certainty on why a club succeeds or fails, you look at the DNA of the man in the dugout. For 20 years, football has been a chessboard controlled by 4 specific mentalities. I call them the 4 kings. They don't just coach teams. They manufacture realities. If your club hires the wrong king for their specific crisis, the collapse is mathematically guaranteed. Tonight, on this episode of Global Football Insights with Oliseh, we dissect the blueprints of tactical dominance. Jose Mourinho is the mercenary. He doesn't want your respect. He wants your surrender. He doesn't build for the next decade. He builds for the next 90 minutes. Let's take a look at some expanded evidence and examples. Flashback to the Inter Milan masterclass of 2010. Against Barcelona at the Camp Nou, he had Samuel Eto'o, one of the greatest strikers in history, playing as a literal left back within a highly flexible 4-2-3-1 that morphed into a compact 4-4-2 out of possession. Eto'o's defensive contributions disrupted Barcelona's build-up play big time in critical phases. Jose Mourinho convinced the superstar that defending was more special than scoring on that occasion. That is the power of Jose Mourinho's insurgency. Further flashback to the Chelsea wall of 2004-2006. Jose Mourinho conceded only 15 goals in an entire Premier League season. He turned John Terry and Ricardo Carvalho into an iron curtain. He didn't want the ball. He simply wanted the mistake. And he got mistakes. Mourinho's teams are the masters of the dark arts. Look at his Real Madrid side against Guardiola's Barcelona, at a time when Barcelona dominated ball possession worldwide like never seen before. They broke the rhythm of the architect by committing tactical fouls in the middle third. Jose Mourinho turns a football match into a street fight. Sadly, there is the year 3 burnout. A look at Manchester United or Tottenham will confirm this. The siege mentality requires an enemy. When he runs out of external enemies, the press, the referees, he starts looking for enemies inside his own dressing room. Now let's take a look at the man I call the architect, Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola does not just see 22 men and a ball. He sees a geometric equation. To him, football is a building that must be built with zero margin for error. He is the architect. Decoding Guardiola's supremacy requires more than theory. Let's take a look at the Barcelona purge of 2008. It wasn't just Ronaldinho that Guardiola needed to get rid of. He looked at Samuel Eto'o and Deco, players who won the Champions League 2 years prior, and decided their individual brilliance didn't fit his mathematical grade. We're talking of world-class players at the time. He replaced them with a youth player named Sergio Busquets, who simply stood in the right coordinates and moved the ball, but had the thinking of lightning. You wouldn't call Sergio Busquets the fastest player on the pitch when it comes to running, but he was one of the fastest thinkers on the pitch. Leaving Barcelona, Guardiola at Bayern Munich took Philippe Lahm, perhaps the best right back in the world at the time, and moved him to central midfield. Why? The blueprint required a brain at the base of the triangle, not a runner on the wing. And Philipp Lahm is a thinker. At Manchester City, he invented the inverted fullback. Look at Kyle Walker or João Cancelo. In the normal system, they run the line. In Pep's blueprint, they tuck inside to create a box midfield. This inversion creates a numerical overload in central areas, allowing City to dominate possession phases while the fullback tucks in to form a three-man midfield. Guardiola is an overthinker. Look at the 2021 Champions League final. No holding midfielder. He moved the coordinates so much that his own players got lost in the building. Yet, even in those rare moments of over-engineering, the architect's relentless pursuit of the perfect geometric equation reveals why his teams dominate when every coordinate aligns precisely on the pitch. Have you ever heard of the Godfather? While Pep uses a compass and a ruler, Carlo Ancelotti uses a cigar and a raised eyebrow. He is the patriarch. He doesn't believe in cages. He believes in homes. I will share with you the Christmas tree that he had at AC Milan. In the early 2000s, he had too many number 10s: Rui Costa, Rivaldo, Seedorf, Pirlo, and Kaká. A rigid coach will have sold 3 of them. Carlo built the 4-3-2-1 Christmas tree just to make sure every genius felt loved and included. Though the formation was a fluid 4-3-2-1 hybrid that always leveraged Pirlo's established role as a deep line playmaker, rather than forcing a complete reinvention of the midfield structure itself. At Real Madrid, everyone said Angel Di Maria couldn't play in the three-man midfield. Carlo didn't look at the data. He looked at the man. He convinced a winger to become a workhorse, leading to the 10th Champions League title for Real Madrid. Look at the Vinicius transformation. Before Carlo's second stint at Real Madrid, Vinicius Jr. was criticized for poor finishing. Carlo didn't give him a laptop of statistics. He gave him confidence. He told him to take one less touch. He simplified the game to let the genius flourish. Now, there's what I call the passivity trap. Look at the 4-0 loss to Manchester City in 2023. When the opponent system is perfect and your genius players are tired, you have no floor to stand on. That is Carlo Ancelotti. Finally, the disciple, Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta is the sovereign of the new era. He is the bridge. He had some of the brains of Guardiola, but the street fighter heart of a captain. Let's look at the Ozil purge. Like Pep, Arteta began with a cultural cleaning. He removed Mesut Ozil, the club's most talented creator at the time, because he didn't track back. Although contract disputes, advancing age, and injury concerns also factored into that decision, I must confess. Arteta's emphasis on collective pressing and discipline proved pivotal in reshaping the squad culture. A look at the number 8 or the number 6 hybrid will explain this better. Look at Declan Rice and Kai Havertz. Arteta doesn't want specialists. He wants heat map erasers. Players who can win a header in their own box and score a tap-in at the other end within 10 seconds. That is what he was looking for. He introduced the set-piece revolution. Arteta hired specialist coaches to turn corners and free kicks into mathematical certainties. He treats every dead ball like a scripted play in American football. During the 2023 run, his 24/7 coaching caused the team to redline. He was so intense that the players began to play with fear instead of flow in the final weeks. And that was one of the reasons they lost the title. But looking at the title contender evolution of 2024-2025, Arteta refined his high-pressing 4-3-3 into a more balanced system that neutralized elite counterattacks, blending Guardiola's positional precision with a street fighter's intensity to finally challenge for major silverware and prove the disciple had forged his own sovereign blueprint. The story never ends. Success in football is not an accident. It is the result of which king is holding the scepter. Whether it's the architect's blueprint or the mercenary's war, the structures remain. In a game defined by its beautiful chaos and endless variables, these 4 mentalities still come closest to delivering the certainty every club craves. Thanks for having spent time with me on this journey with the Kings. But if you like this, click the like button And if you want to get more materials like this in the future, click the subscribe and the notification button below. That way you get notified every time we release a video like this. Take good care of yourself, and like I'll say, keep rooting for your king.